I'm Anna Ramon. I'm the executive director of Annie's List.
Woo-woo!
Progress Texas is one of the only shops that do quick and fire response media and literally has saved multiple Democratic asses over some decades. I'll take a page out of a not so progressive book, Mitt Romney's book. I would love binders full of women running for Texas office.
It's Monday, March 17th, 2025. Happy St. Patrick's Day, y'all. This is the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch, rapid response on the breaking news stories Texas progressives need to know. I'm Chris Mosier. You know, our political opposition has gotten pretty good at this flooding the zone thing. Unfortunately, it appears that we're in for at least another 1,404 days of it. And between Friday morning and this Monday morning today, we're reminded of one important aspect that the resistance must bear in mind. Very frequently, what seems to be ridiculous and stupid from the other side is much more cunning and calculated in reality. Take, for example, the new House bill we talked about on Friday that's been introduced by Smithville Republican State Rep Stan Gerdes to ban furries. Students whose role-playing as animals has advanced to biting people and eating off the floor from Texas public schools, a completely non-existent problem based on a 2-year-old and thoroughly debunked right-wing hallucination. This bill at first seemed to do little more than ridicule and scorn for its stupidity. That is, until later on Friday, when Blaine's Gainey at the Texas Newsroom reported that Governor Abbott had begun publicly backing this bill as a necessary measure to exert control upon Texas public schools that had descended into insane chaos, and a further impetus for private school vouchers. This bill likely has little chance of passing because it's ludicrous and it's based on complete bullshit. But it doesn't have to pass for Governor Abbott to use it as a voucher talking point right now. Rep. Gerdes claims that House Speaker Dustin Burrows is behind his Furries bill as well. Republicans will say anything, no matter how laughable and fictitious, to get what they want. And when we progressives are tempted to laugh this stuff off, we need to remind ourselves that there's always a method to their madness. Another angle on the voucher scam, which of course is all about profit, but whose profit? We haven't talked near enough about voucher vendors, private companies that have nothing to do with education. Rather, they profit by managing money flowing within school voucher programs. Josephine Lee and Justin Miller at the Texas Observer offer as an example the company Class Wallet, which is broken into the business magazine Inc.'s annual list of the fastest growing American companies for 3 years running now. They're among similar business interests lobbying hard at the Capitol lately for vouchers as they stand to cash in handsomely should Texas enter that market. Another voucher vendor known as Odyssey has brought on Louis Saenz, who worked as Governor Abbott's chief of staff for 5 years as a lobbyist, and Daniel Warner, who has worked for former House Speaker Dade Phelan as a policy advisor as its state director. There's blood in the water, and the sharks are circling. Terrific analysis on all this from the most recent Texas Take podcast with Scott Braddock and Jeremy Wallace. Link in the show notes. An important listen to understand the full motivation for school vouchers. Promise you some burning Republican desire to back low-income kids in Texas is quite low on the priority list. Speaking of Texas kids, a disturbing turn in the measles outbreak story. One thing you may have learned from all of this is that the first of 2 MMR vaccine doses against measles, mumps, and rubella is typically not given to kids until they're at least a year old, and the second normally between 4 and 6 years old. So kids in that age range are vulnerable to outbreaks like the one we're seeing right now in West Texas, which was brought on by general vaccine refusal. Those kids are the ones we're trying to protect by having a robust vaccine program to begin with, especially newborns and babies in their first year. Well, more national news for Texas here as Erica Edwards at NBC writes that last week a woman gave birth in a Lubbock, Texas hospital, but her doctors hadn't realized until she had been admitted and begun labor that she was infected with measles and had exposed dozens of newborns and their families to the virus. University Medical Center Children's Hospital staff jumped to emergency protocols, giving babies as young as 3 days old injections of immunoglobulin, an antibody that helps their fragile immune systems fight off infections. Catherine Wells, Director of Public Health for Lubbock's Health Department, says she had begun to feel like the outbreak was coming under control, but that this new development, quote, feels like we're back to square one, unquote. Paul Kobler at the Houston Landing via the Texas Tribune covers the funeral of Congressman and former Houston Mayor Sylvester Turner, which drew a crowd of over 1,000 on Saturday at the Church Without Walls in Houston. Among the dignitaries was U.S. House Democratic leader Hakeem Jeffries of New York, who said, quote, "In the limited time we had with Sylvester Turner, it was so clear to us that he loved Houston. Just talked about Houston all the time," unquote. Harris County Commissioner Rodney Ellis said of Turner, quote, "Here was a guy who loved everything he did, and he loved everyone he worked with, even when they were working against him. He didn't hold grudges. And that's a hard thing to do in politics," unquote. And in fact, several of the 20 of Turner's congressional colleagues in attendance at his service were of the opposing party. The process of filling the vacancy left by Turner's unexpected passing at 70 is underway. Pooja Salhotra at the Texas Tribune says Harris County Attorney Christian Menifee, roughly half Turner's age at 37, has filed his intent to run for the seat representing the 18th Congressional District. Menifee was just reelected to a second four-year term as county attorney, but Governor Greg Abbott has not yet declared a special election. So Menifee remains in his current office while he'll be required to resign once the election is declared by the governor, creating yet another opening. Houston folks need to get ready to vote at some point. While the governor dilly-dallies, Republicans in the U.S. House hold a one-vote advantage with that empty seat. So there might be a bit of a wait here. Wouldn't surprise anyone, frankly. There's a little good news to share as we wind down today. Julian Spector at the clean energy journal Canary Media reports that earlier this month, Texas set brand new records with our nation-leading clean energy apparatus. In the first week of March, the ERCOT power grid saw new records for wind production, solar production, and importantly, battery discharge. Since 2023, battery output has grown by over 600% and is now providing nearly as much instantaneous or dispatchable power as Texas's nuclear power plants. It's important to know that Republicans dealing in energy legislation have attempted to define that word dispatchable as applying only to natural gas-fired energy, when in fact it simply means power that's there at the flick of a switch. The fossil fuel lobby lives in fear of battery capacity, and that's where the current battle line is drawn. By the way, fire conditions are bad across much of the state today, and it would appear we'd better get used to that. Similar conditions are expected to persist through the week. That weird orange sunset on Saturday night in the Austin area was directly due to a massive wildfire west of Austin near Fredericksburg. And during the conversation over that, I've discovered a cool app that offers great information on wildfires in Texas. Look for the app called Watch Duty. You might be shocked at how many wildfires are burning across the state at any given time. This morning, I count 11. March is Women's History Month, and Progress Texas Advocacy Associate Tatum Owens has put together a great rundown in celebration of the enormous breakthroughs Texas women have accomplished, as well as an analysis of why Texas remains among the worst U.S. states for women to live in, plus a full list of Women's History Month events happening across the state. See that list at progresstexas.org. Our mission to Progress Texas is to counter the conservative disinformation machine, but they far outmatch us in funding. Oil and tech billionaires and religious right-wing activist groups spend a lot of their money keeping audiences in the dark. If you come to appreciate the light we shine on important political news in Texas on a daily, ongoing basis, please know that our regular, everyday listeners form a key component of our funding. If that's you, we could use your support as a monthly contributor, and no amount is too small. Go to progresstexas.org/donate. Thanks to Denise Wilkerson, Phil Sokolsky, and Cherie Allen, all three of whom are on the team. We appreciate all y'all very much. San Antonio friends, Progress Texas is Alamo City bound for the first time in a while for a live podcast taping and fundraising party on Tuesday, May the 6th. We look forward to a long overdue and fun get-together with y'all at our Party for Progress. Mark that date, Tuesday, May 6th, and keep it here for details. That's the Progress Texas Daily Dispatch for this Monday, March 17, 2025. Links to all these original stories can be found in our show notes. Progress Texas is a nonprofit rapid response media organization promoting progressive messages and actions. While campaigns come and go, we're the permanent home for progressive media and action in the Lone Star State. I'm Chris Mosier. Thanks for listening. Have a great day and a great week. Happy St. Patrick's Day. We'll see you again tomorrow morning.